Greetings, and welcome to the Bowling Green First United Methodist Church. We hope you enjoy what you're about to see, and you can find us at the corner of Broadway and Church Streets at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings. Or you can find us online at bgmethodist.org and on Facebook at Bowling Green First United Methodist Church.
Given by Mr. Ed Lawson. He's going to speak about the Amish.
I got these maps. Part of what we're going to talk about is out now this meeting. I think it's for everyone.
John's house might go a little left.
Oh, I'm here right here.
You're right.
No, there's my house. I'm kidding. Tom.
It's been very interesting to listen to the conversation at the table this evening because it all fits into the program very well. Maybe I better look back away from that.
No, you'll be fine. You're good. Keep going.
Okay?
Yep.
Here? Can you hear me okay now? Well, the program for this evening will be about the Amish, where they're living in Bowling Green. You may have thought, who are the Amish? And where do they come from? And why are they here? We know the Amish were in Switzerland about 1600 AD. But there were two groups. We're going to talk about the Amish who followed their leader, who was a man, Imam. And you can see how that came down to us Amish. Another group followed a man, the Minyan, and they were the people we call Mennonites. Same people, just following different leaders. But the Mennonites are much more modern in what they're doing, as you know that. But while they were in Switzerland, a problem developed. The Amish did not want to practice the state religion headquartered in Rome. They wanted to practice a religion that was similar to that we follow. In an effort to snuff out this unwanted religious practice, the state authorities began to torture and often kill the Amish who refused to give up their religion. Are you hearing me? Okay? This was counter-effective, as the more effort the state made to eliminate the Amish practices, the more they were determined to continue. Their problems in Switzerland caused the Amish to move to Germany. There, their religious problems were overlooked. If the young men of Amish faith would serve in the military, if they could be in the military service personnel, not as infantry. This was agreed to. You know, our Amish are Trinitarian. They believed in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. As the Amish thought about their religious beliefs, they decided to move to America, where freedom to worship as you wish is a given. When did the Amish begin to move to America? The first that we know about in the 1700s, and many more would come in the early 1800s. They settled in an area comprised of parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and the farms in both states were very expensive. Only a few farmers would sell their farms to the Amish. For these reasons, the Amish began to plan a move further west. One of their members had visited the Bowling Green area several years before. He encouraged the Amish families to look at the area and to consider buying land in Pike County, Missouri. Price of farm land in Pike County was selling for $42 or $80, $42 to $80 per acre. This was in 1947. Knowing no one in the Amish area, the Amish leaders asked the mayor of the nearest community to where they were lived to contact the mayor of Bowling Green to provide the name and address of a person they could contact to meet them and help in learning about the farm land in Pike County, Missouri, that was for sale. The mayor of Bowling Green scheduled a meeting to find out who this person was, and that was O.K. Williams. I never met O.K. Williams, and some of you are nodding your head. You may know O.K. Williams. And he was a real estate agent. You remember that?
And an insurance agent.
You what?
And an insurance agent.
Yeah. And OK made arrangements with Mr. Meyer to provide cabins and meals. Now, you remember when on the north side of 45, on the north side of 54, there were cabins and a restaurant west of 61 on the north side of 54. You remember that?
Bankheads, right there in the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I remember that bankhead on the corner.
Yeah.
The main facilities were on the north side of Highway 54, west of Highway 61. The 4-lane 61 didn't exist at that time.
Right.
That's right there in the corner.
It was right in the corner.
Where UPS is?
Not that far down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It burned down, didn't it?
Yeah.
Get a little history here. The Amish families had arrived in a bus, and they would use that bus to drive out and look at the farmland. They also looked at land north and east of Vandalia. But this land was of no interest to the Amish. No reason was given for this decision. A part of their planning in preparing to move to Pike County, they remembered how their children were sent to public schools when living in eastern states. Some of their leaders contacted the Missouri State Superintendent of Schools asking if they could build their own schools and to teach their children as they wished. The request was granted. As a result of this decision, there are 6 one-room schools in the Amish community. The schools are located, the schools are located so that no student must walk more than 2 miles to school. Each school has space for a playground, a well, 2 small buildings near the rear of the property, and a 3-sided building for storing wood for heating, and space for the teacher's horse, and food and fuel for the horse. And I spoke about this, some of you that had attended rural schools, that sounds familiar to you.
Yep.
All buildings were painted white. They had no trim color. Just as their homes were all white. The teacher will be in these schools, and generally was an unmarried young lady, about 18 years old, who taught all grades. Just as when their parents or grandparents attended a rural school. Sometimes there'd be a man teacher, not often. The Amish believe that the lives they live, this is sufficient schooling to go through those first 8 grades. The lessons will focus on reading and writing and basic math. There are in Missouri 6 communities. There are Bowling Green, Clark, Seymour, Windsor, Mount Vernon, and Aurora. Now that doesn't tie with some of the other information I have, because there may be some other, and this is what I've taken out of Missouri Life magazine. Bowling Green and Clark are most strict. You have to notice something here. There is no central government for any Amish community, wherever they are located. Each community manages its affairs under the direction of a bishop, or as many as are needed. Now, if that sounds strange, in larger communities, you're going to have more than one bishop. Because the carryover from where they were in Switzerland, not having any churches, they're meeting in home. So that means about 20 or 25 on a Sunday, and we would call our bishop and deacons and elders. It seems a little strange to think about it, but that's just the protection that they had where they were overseas. Now, trying to avoid letting the authorities know where they were. So over here, they're just doing the same thing, meeting in the homes. Because they meet in homes, the number of persons limited, and church services are not every Sunday. They're irregular. Sometimes every other Sunday, sometimes not. Wherever services are going to be, or have been, you could find benches on the front porch. There'd be backless benches. To move these benches is a bench wagon that's designed to move those benches. In the services, the men will be sitting in front, and there'll be the ladies next, and then the children. And they meet in the morning for service, and they go to about noon, have meal. Some services will be continuing into the afternoon. You might think, from what I've spoken of, that Amish communities are unaware of what other communities are doing wherever they are. Far from it. There's a national Amish paper. That's the Budget. It's printed in Sugar Creek, Ohio. And each Amish community would have a reporter who sends information into the Budget. And if you're interested in learning more about the Amish community, I suggest you contact the Chamber of Commerce office or City of Bowling Green, and they can furnish you 4 maps, which I've brought out this evening. When you look at the map, Notice that only Amish homes, schools, and churches will be shown. Now that is so because when you did that map, you didn't want the map to be crowded, and we wanted so that persons visiting the Amish community could more easily locate the stores and homes they wanted to visit. You also have to notice that no Amish homes, I'm sorry, not all Amish homes are on the map. This is because some Amish do not want to be on the map. Notice also there are no English homes on the map. You and I are English because we do not speak the German dialect that the Amish do. In summary, this is our first culture. They're good people. They live close to the land, and once they know you, they're friendly and enjoy a visit. Now, if you have questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can. You have any questions?
I might add a couple of things we've learned since we've been in that community. One, girls don't date till they're 17, and not allowed to date till they're 17 years old. So, did you hear me, Ed? I'm sorry. I said the girls cannot date till they're 17 years old. That's the rules of the community.
I didn't know that.
We've had 1, 2, 3, we're on a fourth Amish girl now that cleans her house. And 3 of them are married, and 3 are married, 1 is not married, and 1's come back to finish the 8th grade at school. But the ones that got married, they asked us, and we did, go take pictures of their dining setup. And they asked us to do it, but everybody had to leave the room when we took the pictures. But they set up long tables all the way around the room, and each child that starts out has a hope chest, and they pick a color, and then over the years for every gift, they buy them that color of a dish, a glass, a plate, something, and then they have all these beautiful sets of dishes, like that table will have blue, and this one will have green, and so on and so on. And down in one corner they had this huge wedding cake, and it did have their names on it. And during the wedding ceremony, they tell us the bride and groom go and sit behind that cake for the duration of the meal. But they go off to another house and get married, and then they come back to the parents' house to eat. Now, the oldest girl married into a very wealthy Amish family in Indiana, and you always get married in the girl's house. That's where the ceremony, or the dinner is served. And they had 400 people there. They came in on buses from Indiana, and of course all that area around it. They had 400 people there at that farmstead, and they fed them all that day. So it was very interesting for us to get a little bit of knowledge. Not that we know a lot, but we know a little bit of knowledge. And I always say that I always can recognize an English girl and an Amish girl. The English girl walks in the house and says, "I don't feel like it." The Amish girl walks in the house and goes to work. That's the difference I see in the two.
They'll give you $1 worth of work for $1. I've hired some Amish boys to help me, the Iker boys to be back, and they will give you an honest day's work for good money. And they break over a little bit too. One day when I took him home, he said, "Are you going into town?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Will you get us some cigarettes?" I said, "What kind do you smoke?" "Dorel full
tell them, I was working with a couple Amish gentlemen yesterday, we was building a fence, and we stopped at 12 for lunch, and they had their own lunch, so they's under a tree there that we didn't have dozed out, and I had to come and get some more concrete mix to pour around the corner post, so I said, have you got everything you need for lunch? And they says, well, kinda. And I said, well, do you need a snack? And they says, well, you got something. So when I come back, I had some of the little Debbie, like right there. And so I went over there where we was building the fence and couldn't see them. Well, lo and behold, here they are laying on the ground. And they ate their lunch and laying there, and I said, ain't you afraid of the ants or the bugs? And they said, no, this is how we relax, you know, but, and then I said, you gonna be able to get up? And they said, yeah, we can get up off the ground okay, but they were stretched out under the shade tree, but, and then they got to asking me questions, and I asked them a bunch, but some of the questions I had, do they vote at elections here?
I can answer, no,
They don't vote? Do they bear arms?
no.
But they have arms.
Just for hunting.
For hunting.
Yeah. Or chase people like you off their property.
Oh, okay.
I think half the Bowling Green does that though.
Now, do they, if they marry outside of the family, are they no longer Amish?
I'll tell you about that. There were 3 Iker boys helped me, Amos, Leroy, and Joe. Amos left the organization, and the other brother said, he didn't leave the family, he left the church. And he married a girl here in Bowling Green, and they live down in Cape Girardeau right now, and they're expecting their first child. And the other 2 boys have already got their work.
Okay, then one other question. They have their own cemetery? Is that correct?
Yeah, go, what?
Cemetery.
Yes, they do.
I can answer that. I know where it's at,
I do too.
and the people that we know the best, he makes the headstones. And you're buried in sequence. You're not buried by your wife or your relatives or anything else. It's the first guy buried is buried here, and the next guy buried is buried next to it.
The conversation.
I'm here. I got my nose over there.
Yeah, we
So-
Thank you.
They're all buried in the cemetery, but they're all buried in sequential order, not by
Okay.
family name or anything.
In
like that.
chronological order.
Huh?
In chronological
Right,
order, the
yeah.
first one died, gets the
Right.
next one died, gets the second one.
But Jack and Jill are not married side by side. Jack and Jill Galloway are not buried side by side. Jack may be married first, and she may be married 20 down the line, depending on how late she dies.
But then the county coroner, he has to verify their death?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Do you know, I mean, I'm just, and like, as far as burial, do they get buried in a wooden box?
Well, I can answer that question.
Okay.
They'll build a box. They build a box, and that's the coffin. Now, John Beach,
Yeah.
I visited with John Beach about this some years ago. They have to bring the body in to John, because he had drained the fluids and that sort of thing.
That'd be a mom.
But they do not want John to do anything about repair the features. or anything. Whatever that person looks like, that's what it is. John, all John does is what he has to do by the law.
Embalm them?
Embalm.
Yeah, basically drain them and embalm them.
I don't know that he embalms.
Yeah.
He
I thought you had
drains
to, but maybe you don't have to.
They'll pack, what they do, if it's the summertime, they pack that body nice. Because people will come from many distances, and so they will put the ice in there.
Yeah.
preserve that for- And then they'll have a ceremony and people, maybe 600-700 people come for that. But I was invited. I wasn't invited, but he just did it for himself. one of the bishop's wives died. And Charlene made cake or something. And we went out to the house, and the kitchen was full of ladies, and they got Charlene and took her right in the kitchen. And the bishop came out and got me and took me into the dining room, living room, and there were rows, probably about 3 or 4 rows of men on chairs, folding chairs, hats on, dressed in their best, lined up. And we went around past these fellows into another room. And there was this box with the bishop's wife was in this box. They just made the box. It was a pine box. And I didn't know what to say. Just didn't know what. Here's this lady I had known, his wife, there she's dead.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I said or what I did.
Was it closed or open?
Open.
Open.
And they avoid, well, they have most of their children at home, don't they? Like they have a midwife or?
Well, I think that's probably true. I don't know that, but I think.
I can, and the family I know, if everything's okay, they do.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of problem, they go to the hospital, just like everybody else does.
Well, I visited with Raymond Wagner, he sells tin stuff, but some of the members told me that they've been over to the university hospital for serious heart problems and stuff, but, and they used to doctor here, Dr. Hayden's a lot, but does the bishop control their income? What they can, like, you know, they have a lot of things they sell, you know, lumber, and, does he help control that, or?
I don't think so. I think the parents controlled it until they reached it. The boys that helped me had to turn their money over to the parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because someone was telling, well, I used to buy calves from them, lumber, deer corn and stuff, that I'd say, well, Dave, you're a little high on that corn, and he says, well, I think it's a fair price, you know. But anyhow, I used to try to tell him down. He said, well, I think that's a fair price, you know.
I would tell you, on the medical side, one more story. The third girl we got was like, you know, one leg was shorter than the other one, by that much. So when she was about, I'm going to say 12 or 13, they took her and had her operated on. And I forget whether they put some in or took some out or did both. But they straightened her back up. So that's a major operation she did. And today you can't tell that she was, and she did walk, you know, sideways there for all her life until she got that leg straightened up. But that was a major deal. They moved to Columbia with that.
You was talking about their weddings, they used to come in and ask me, they'd say, well, I got a daughter getting married, you gonna have me some bologna and cheese and stuff? And I said, yeah. And I says, and see the sticks of bologna get about this long, and we get it from Swift or Mayro's. And I says, you gonna need a half a stick? And he said, no, give me 2 whole sticks. And he said, what's the price gonna be? And I said, sliced or unsliced? And he says, well, by me buying 2 whole sticks, you should slice it for free.
Well, that's one you can talk to another one.
And then you think of them, you think of us buying a chunk of Longhorn, they like Longhorn cheese, you know, it comes in horns, not that long. And they'd say, well, we'll need about 3 of them horns of cheese, you know, and maybe they buy, it's usually stuff like that, and maybe a case of chickens or something, you know, that usually they have their own chickens and beef and stuff, and hot dogs, they buy maybe a whole case of hot dogs, you know, and they're pretty shrewd when they're dealing with you.
Charlene and I were out there one day, and it was about time for me. He had a big block of chocolate. So you've seen that, about that thing, of the stuff. And she said, I'd like to have a piece of that chocolate. He reached in his pocket.
He does not.
Yeah.
Talking about,
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you have to go? Okay, Walter's gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta-
We can stay, but he's gotta
I
go.
went,
Yeah, I need to
He
go.
just has to go, okay? You stay there.
no, sorry, you
I was
can't.
gonna tell it. They, when I hired them, I asked them if they could use the chainsaw. They said no. And I said, well, and then they said, well, can we use, is it your chainsaws? I said, yeah. Well, we can use your chainsaw.
Just like a phone.
I see a pair of chainsaws around.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
Danny.
gotta go.
It's okay, Walter, take
Take care,
care.
Walter.
Yeah, Eddie back.
Hey, I might tell you one other thing, if you look at this map on the left side, this Hickory Grove School,
Where is it?
on the left side, the schoolhouse.
Yeah, Hickory Grove.
Yeah, so between Hickory Grove and that road sign there, that bridge is out. So they've cut a path through the woods where they can ride a pony or something up there where it says 8.
Uh-huh.
And all these people on them can't go over to school because that bridge is out. So they cut a path through the woods and the kids walk through the
Oh,
woods
okay.
to go to school. One more fact, I'm still, I read in the paper where Amish are increasing their membership by 10% a year.
Oh, really?
10% a year. Well, they have kids, you know.
Yeah.
The kids have kids.
Yeah.
White people have quit having kids, so that's the difference.
And one of the questions that sometimes hear, how many, maybe out of a family of 10, will they all stay home? Or maybe 1 or 2 leave? And some people think it's maybe 1 in 10, and sometimes 3 in 10 leave. I have no idea what it is.
Well, the little I know about them, it looks like all leave except maybe one son who's gonna take over the farm. The rest of them have gone off other places, other states even. Some of the boys have gone off to other states and stayed and married Amish girls up in Indiana or Kentucky or somewhere. So it doesn't seem to me like a large bunch of them are staying at the house.
You notice that if he's not married, he probably doesn't have a beard.
Right.
Until he's married, he's got to get to raise a beard. After that, he has a beard. And I brought these 2 hats along. I want to talk a little bit about that.
I thought that one was Tom.
Yeah.
I have that kind of like that.
There's no crease here. It's a 3-inch brim. I bought this at the store. I said to the lady, this hat's too big for me. She said, all the same price, it's all the same size. She said, you take, see this?
Tighten that up to the band.
Said, you adjust it right there. All the same size.
Yeah.
One size fits all, huh?
Yeah.
But the point I want to make for it was there's no crease here. Look at this hat.
Yeah, I see that.
Now, the reason for that is, when they were in Switzerland, they were confronted daily by people in the military. And that's why the Amish that we know here never wear belts, all the suspenders. And they're very careful about their hats, because they won't have the military people. Another thing, I never saw an Amish man wear a cap. The people they associated with in the military in Switzerland were caps.
Yeah.
So you don't see it, you
Yeah.
never see
The
it.
Mennonites wear caps, but not the Amish.
Yeah.
Not the Amish.
Yeah.
And the reason they don't put this crease in is because that makes it look like
Yeah.
some.
I'll have to look at that guy's hat that's working out there for us, because he took his hat off and put it in my truck. I had the toolbox open, and I said, aren't you afraid of getting sunburned? He says, see, they don't wear nothing. Their eyes all greased up and spraying stuff on. They didn't have nothing, no protection to speak of. But he took his hat off for a while, and then he started asking me questions. He says, it come up that I was divorced for some reason and by myself, and he says, well, how long have you been by yourself? I said, well, since 1992, and he says, well, mine's 1983, you know. And then he got asking me my age, and he was 63, and the other guy working was 53, but I says, grandkids? And he says, yeah, I got 4 grandkids and 1 great-grandkid. But we didn't get into too much about ex-wives and stuff, but I says, it's about time for you to find your new woman, isn't it? He says, I'm not quite ready yet. So anyhow.
All right. Well, I was going to tell 2 or 3 stories.
Go ahead.
We were visiting with this Amish couple. We were standing out in the barn. And just the narrow road there, across the road, was a wonderful, this is several years ago, a wonderful stalk, big stalks, way high. And I said, that's a wonderful looking corn. He said, some derision in his voice, that's the tractor people.
Okay. Yeah.
Tractor people. huh?
Yeah, that's us, huh?
Well, I went to see Jake Schwartz, which is the first house after you leave Curry.
Sure.
And there was a fire, there was a frost-free hydrant out in the yard. I hadn't been there since. I said, well, Jake, tell me about this. You hooked up the water? He said, yeah, I had trouble with my well. A lot of people had trouble with their well after Mark Twain put the water pipe in. But what also funny, it's not funny, but the faucet is out by the shed where he works on his wagon.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Miss Schwartz, she said, look at that. It ought to be over here.
Yeah.
I gotta walk through the mud.
Yeah.
The snow. Why did he put it over here? But she said, we drink the water. We don't drink that water.
Oh, really?
We drink the water out of our well.
It don't work.
Yeah.
It tastes better.
Yeah.
But I won't say which Schwartz, but I went to one of the Schwartz and I was looking, more than one Schwartz up there. And I said, well, Mrs. Schwartz, where identified the other Schwartz. He said, you can't tell anything about them Schwartzes.
That's who's working for us, the Schwartz. But
Well,
do they?
also ask this, this matter of the Jake Schwartz is on M, and he's living in 1900, you know that. Over on the other side, there's another person there who's doing everything almost like you and I, except he doesn't have electricity.
Yeah.
And keeps bees, and he had a place there they can dress meat. There was a problem with the wood rocker, so they have a problem. They're careful. If you have a deer, he can take care of that deer for you. And when it's time for deer hunting, you may look there and they have a refrigerated freezer. Actually, it's a trailer with its own gasoline engine.
Right.
They hang those deer in there.
Yeah.
And so it's just a good thing for deer hunters.
Yeah. Is that Hilty you're talking about? Hilty?
Hilty.
Yeah.
Hilty is very advanced.
Yeah, I know him real good.
And you notice how much he has new concrete around. He builds new buildings. His family is tanning goods and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So Hildy has moved ahead as much as he possibly can. He told me this story, and I visited with bees several times. And he keeps bees. He's the only person out there that has bees. And I buy honey from him in quart jars, very good. And I think he may be the only one. And maybe someone else, but I don't know who they are. But I always get the honey I have healthy. He has a problem because as we've used more chemicals, the bee leaves the hive and goes out, and he ingests some of the chemicals,
Oh, really?
which shortens the life of the bee. He doesn't become as productive as he was because some of the chemicals that he get picked up off the sun or something. So now and then he has to order another box of bees. But for us, bees are pollinators. They pollinate everything, but maybe not all of it, but a great deal of pollination. And so, very serious matter. They have free-range chickens. You're next to them.
Yeah.
The free-range chicken, they put up a little chicken wire hatch out in the front yard, put the chickens in there, and they'll kill chickens and clear them for you if you want. But when they've done everything they can in that little patch, they just drag the little pens over to the little pig. So that's the free-range chicken.
Tell you what, Hilty's meat market out there, I call it. Everybody thinks Amish don't have anything to clean with. You go out there, and even though, like, we used to clean our meat market up, we had a special chemical to clean, and hot water, and degreaser. You go out there, it's just as clean. And just say you want a pound of bacon, he had a way of putting that slab of bacon on the slicer, and he slices, he turns it by hand to slice it. Can you imagine that? Well, we had an electric slicer, his he operated by hand.
And you slice it in strips for bacon.
Yep.
He also, Emily, of course, has milk. If you like raw milk, and some people do like raw milk,
Yep.
and if you want raw milk to drink, they have it.
Yeah, I don't want that, but.
I was doing a tour out there, and there was this young fellow. First thing he asked when we got off the bus was, I wonder if they had any milk. We were at Hildy's, and so we asked about it. They brought out a gallon. He was very happy about that. Started drinking it right away. I wouldn't drink raw milk. He thought that was okay.
Did they have a bathroom on the bus? Did they have a bathroom on the bus?
I don't know about that. Even though I rode out there.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we used to drink milk our own cows, and the cream would be right in the milk. And then instead of, they tried to skim off some of the cream, but then some of them chunks were still in there. I just hated that, and then they didn't pasteurize the milk, but I'd rather have it out of the milk carton there.
My grandfather had milked his own cow.
Oh, did he?
I couldn't remember. I was like, your water, your milk's all water here.
Yeah. Or the cow been eating wild onions or something, boy, that old garlic he tasted.
Oh, yeah. Well, green wheat will do that too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Pasture cow and wheat in the spring, it'll taste terrible.
My neighbor used to have a big milk cow and pour the milk in a big old crock here, the cream would come, and they let chickens in their house. First thing you know, there'd be a chicken on the table.
Wait a minute,
that cream.
That's enough.
That's the truth, too.
If you have any more questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Well, I have one. On TV, they have these shows about the Amish. And it shows that when they're teenagers at a certain age, they kind of let them go wild and try the English way of life. Is that common? Okay.
There's a period in their life. Rumsfeld. When they can go out, do whatever they want to do. They have to make a decision, and you're going to talk about that. They have to make a decision or to stay Amish or to go out into the world. And so they have an opportunity to do that. Rumspringer. Thank you.
The boys.
I don't know what it's clever to the boys.
I've never heard of a girl doing that. Do you know any different?
I assumed it was either one.
I always thought it was just the boys, anything when the guys talk about it.
If they join the church, that's it. If they're committed, they don't join the church. I think they're accepted. I think somebody mentioned, I guess that was Walter, that they, anyway, they can be in the family, friends of the family. But if they join the church, and then they go out, they're shunned.
Did we answer your question?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, and what we see on TV sometimes, the reality shows of Amish, let's pick something out of our Bowling Green here and say, let's put these people on a reality show. What would they look like? They would look like the Amish kid that ran away from home, or worse. So it's whatever you get in a normal community, you're going to get somewhat there in the Amish community. Not as, I don't think it's as much as, or I sense it's not, but they still have that problem.
You mean the Amish Mafia is not real?
That depends on if you're buying or selling to them,
I want to mention something else. We have in this area the Mennonites, which are Amish. But when they left Switzerland, there were two leaders, Amon, with the people here are Amish. They very strict, and they follow Amon. Another set of people, another leader, also in Switzerland, Mignon. And those are the people now in this area, they're called Mennonites. Same people, only they just do things differently. They live different lives. They have cars and trucks and tractors. Someone, just a wag, said, those are the bumper Amish. They have a car and it's got a chrome bumper and they were painted black.
When I was a kid in the town I lived in, we had a Mennonite community on both sides, and they were farmers. And these strange ones, these were kind of a little bit poor Mennonites. And these were the rich Mennonites. They had the first John Deere diesel tractors, and the biggest wheat trucks, and the biggest dairy herds, and on and on and on. Well, they were very modern. But I can remember when I was a little kid, seeing a buggy come in, like you see an Amish buggy here. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That was the last, I think, couple in the county that were old-fashioned Mennonites. And from then on, they were always the top farmers, always made the most money. They still lived very Spartan lives, but they still lived comfortably and with electricity and water and the best of equipment.
But the ones I know, they don't put any curtains in their house. The windows are always bare and really super clean.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, these folks that we know, if they're going to have church in their house, we don't get them that week for our house because they've spent 2 weeks cleaning their house.
Yeah, they're very clean.
And they'll paint their floors again, and scrub the walls. I mean, they just go crazy when they're having a wedding or church. You don't want to get them, you can't even touch them, you can't see them, nothing. They're in there scrubbing. They're busy.
I got a question for you, Ed. When I've seen the boys, when the boys and girls were walking to school or riding ponies and stuff, I don't ever see girls riding horses. Do they let the girls ride the horses or?
Yes, they do. I see them all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from Schultz's buggy shop, and the next house down, they go back and forth on the ponies, and the girls, you know, almost were scared. The dresses are about up to here, to the knee.
That's high for them.
That's high for them, and they're riding that horse just as pony, just as fast as they can.
So they ride a straddle or do they?
Yeah, travel.
I act like I'm a racing boy, trying to, but kids will be barefooted, walking back and forth to school.
Oh, I see them going up and down that highway in the summertime at 100 degrees, barefoot on the
Yeah.
asphalt. And I'm thinking, wow. Or that store, the second house, third on the right, the old people that have the store there, that old lady must be almost as old as Ed. I'm kidding. I've seen her walk across that gravel road barefoot in the summertime, and
Yeah.
that's not sand, that's
Yeah.
rock, you know, and just chug right across that road barefoot.
Well, their feet are probably all, I mean, they're like calloused and hard.
Yeah.
Every event of it, I was up at the plant, and the sister lived in the plant. And west of the plant, when the Amish family was here, they lived down the road from where Joe Ransom lived. And she remembered me and I remembered her. Went to the house. And while we were visiting, here's this young lady coming out of the house, looks like she's probably 25 years old, barefooted. What's her talking about? Walked out there in the gravel, just like it was pavement. Didn't think anything about it.
All summer, all of them. They come to our house, and they wear shoes coming to the house, but they get in the house, they take the shoes off, and they work in the house barefoot, you know. And I imagine they get home and take their shoes off, that's the last time they put shoes on, in the summertime.
My daughter's got a sign at her front door, if you're not George Strait, take your DAM shoes off. Oh, my God.
Oh, my.
Well, I don't want to keep you longer, but this is not the extent of the program.
Very interesting, Ed.